Welcome to Ashanda at Large, where we discuss faith, family, and the future of our community. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me once again. Excuse me. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me once again as I get ready to share a very, very troubling story with you all. That, I'm going to be talking a lot more about these things because this is a part of our core mission at Ashanda at Large is to really deal with the inner man because our community is devastated. Our community is very, very troubled, and we need the salvation that was offered to us through Yahushua HaMashiach, but we need the Ruach in order to change us from the darkness and bring us into his glorious light. But what am I going to be discussing today? I'm going to be talking about the issue of domestic violence in a particular story that I just found out about that it blew me away. It blew me away, and right away, as soon as I heard about it, I knew I needed to discuss it. So I'm going to get into it, but as always, before I do, I want to invite you all to like as well as to subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. And don't forget to hit that notification bell on your right so that you can get my latest updates as they come out. So guys, I'm going to read a story that was shared with me actually by my husband. And this story, y'all, is one of those things where it's just really going to it's going to make you pause. It's going to make you think about the severity of the times that we're living in. So this is a story that's coming out of California, and I'm going to read you this article from TwinCities.com. It says, California man propped dead wife on couch for kids opening Christmas presents, prosecutor says. I know, guys. I know. Just the title alone, it's horrendous. But this is the wife, and this is her baby that she was carrying. I guess they went to Disneyland, and they took this picture. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this article to you all. It says a violent relationship ended with an Anaheim man killing his wife and then propping her body up on a sofa for her children opening presents on Christmas morning in 2011, a prosecutor told jurors on Monday, March 8th. Now this situation happened 10 years ago, but apparently they're just dealing with this in the courts now. This is horrible, y'all, that this is just coming out now. But I'm going to continue. It says more than 9 years after 26-year-old Giselle Preston's dreams of becoming a domestic violence counselor ended with her own sudden death in 2011, trial began Monday for William Wallace, the husband who had already served jail time for beating her during her earlier confrontation. Senior Deputy District Attorney Heather Brown told jurors that Wallace, now 39, did what he always did, expecting Preston to survive like she always did. This Christmas story does not have a happy ending, and unfortunately, this is not just a story. It is real life, Brown said. Wallace's attorney, Heather Moorhead, denied that her client was responsible for his wife's death, telling jurors that a drunk Preston was injured when she fell into a glass table, shattering it. Mr. Wallace is being accused of something that is not his fault, Moorhead told jurors. You will hear about a relationship that was full of arguing and yelling, but also a lot of love. Okay. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is what I don't understand about these lawyers. You know this man is a whole criminal and you're going to sit here and try to ease the blow of what he did? Anyway, I'm continuing. Preston relatives told investigators that Wallace was controlling and violent and alleged that he threatened to kill his wife on several occasions. One relative described finding a pregnant Preston laying in the fetal position in the street after one alleged beating. The prosecutor said, That is horrible. On Christmas Eve that year, the couple went to a party at a neighbor's before returning home to the apartment they shared with their newborn son and Preston's daughters, who were then 3 and 8 years old. One neighbor described hearing arguing that night, the prosecutor said, while another told investigators Wallace could be seen picking up what appears to be a body by an apartment gate. Wallace told one of Preston's family members that we were drinking and during the argument I tossed her around a bit, Brown told the court, adding that Preston tried to run, but he caught her and brought her back into the apartment. The next morning, Christmas Day, the prosecutor said Wallace dragged his wife's body from the bedroom to a living room couch, put sunglasses on her, and told the children, "Mommy ruined Christmas." Oh boy. I'm sorry, y'all. This is very hard to read. Mommy ruined Christmas. She got drunk and ruined Christmas. Then Brown added he had the children open up their presents. Police found blood throughout the apartment, along with holes punched in walls and a door off of its hinges. Preston was still slumped over on the sofa when paramedics arrived. In a call to one of Preston's relatives after her death, Wallace had said he was on my way to the penitentiary, the prosecutor said. Wallace's attorney said neighbors heard what sounded like an angry Preston yelling at Wallace in an alley behind the apartment complex. The defense attorney said Preston's older daughter saw her mother trip and fall into a table before Wallace could stop her. The daughter helped pull glass out of her mother's body and clean her wounds, Moorhead said. Okay, before I continue, the older daughter, how old was this girl? She was, what did it say? She was like under 10. She was 8 years old. Okay. The older daughter helped to pull glass out of her mom's body and clean her wounds. And the man props his wife up on the couch the next day and tells that same daughter, along with her little sister, that mommy ruined Christmas. Wow. Okay. Wallace then moved her into a bathtub, the defense attorney said, but Preston's head struck something else in the bathroom on the way. Wallace told multiple people that his wife had suffered a concussion after falling and hitting her head the previous night and had not woken up, his attorney said. Several months before her death, Preston had enrolled in classes at Cypress College, where she hoped to learn to become a domestic violence counselor. If convicted of first-degree murder, Wallace faces up to 25 years to life in prison. He has remained behind bars in lieu of a $1 million bail while awaiting trial since his December 25, 2011 arrest, according to jail records. I'm going to stop right there. That was very, very difficult to read. That was so very difficult to read, just from beginning to end, from the headline to how the whole situation came about, to the fact that this woman was studying to become a domestic abuse counselor. I want to say that there were a multiplicity of wrongful behavior, reactions that took place, not just on this night that she passed, but throughout the entirety of this relationship, this marriage. I applaud and commend this woman for trying to be brave enough to go out and get this counseling degree in domestic abuse. However, she remained in a domestic abuse situation while going out to become a counselor against it. That to me says that there was a huge cry in her heart that she wanted someone to hear her story so that she could help others. But she hadn't yet gotten out of her nightmare. She was literally still in the nightmare while she was trying to help wake other people up from their nightmares. Y'all, I am very deeply troubled by this story because this is something that I'm going to be honest with you all. This is going on in so many of our homes, especially with the rise of this whole pandemic. There has been an increase in domestic violence that has just, it has ran through the seams of what it once was. People are literally falling to pieces, not knowing how to handle these life stresses, not knowing what to do with everything that is coming their way all at one time. But this situation happened back in 2011, and now it's being dealt with. And I'm going to tell y'all that I don't believe that this woman should have stayed in that house. Point blank, period. She should have left with her children, and she should have gone to a safe house with her children. This clearly, from what has been described, was not at all the first time this situation happened, but yet she remained in a place of unsafety where there were threats against her life. Now, my prayer group and I, probably about 6 months ago, covered the issue of domestic violence concerning a pastor. I believe it was a Nigerian pastor that lived in America, in Florida or California, and he beat up his wife, or was beating up his wife in front of her brother. And the brother, of course, stepped in with his wife. They recorded it on video. And this was a pastor of like a big mega church. And he turns around to the brother and says, when the brother calls him a fake, he says, you'll see how fake I am when I kill her. And they told the wife that she needed to report it to the police and not take his words as though they were light. And of course, because she was involved in this domestic abuse situation, she was so used to her husband just beating on her and treating her poorly that she didn't take it seriously when he threatened to kill her. So she goes off to work a few days later, and the man meets her at work before she could even enter into her job. She worked at a bank, and he shot her dead. This was a pastor, okay? About 6 months ago, this went down. And guys, I'm going to tell you that when it comes to the issue of domestic abuse, this is not something that is talked about enough. This is not something that is dealt with enough, because there is so much shame surrounding the issue of abuse. There's so much shame, but the reality is that we must expose the unfruitful works of darkness. Now, I get it. Those of us who are married, we understand that there's going to be conflict in marriage. We understand that there's going to be disagreements, and sometimes there's going to be heated discussions. Okay? That's a reality of being married. What is not normal, what is dysfunctional, is when you elevate those interactions to the point where the words that you're speaking, because domestic violence is not only physical, but the words that you're speaking against your spouse become violent, become demeaning, become to the point where your goal is to tear that person's spirit and soul down. Now, the truth is that many of us have said very hurtful words to our spouses, and they would fit in the category of that type of verbal psychological abuse. Especially if you've been involved in the church, then you know that you've probably interacted with spiritual abuse as well. But I need us to understand that this is why we are in the state that we're in, because we don't confess our sins. We don't allow the Most High to then go in and help us to repent and repair the breach that's in our hearts and in our homes, so that He can heal us. We don't receive that Second Chronicles 7:14 model. We don't allow the Most High to go in and do the inner work that is necessary inside of us, so that we can see His supernatural deliverance from these abusive spirits. And because of that, we continue to see domestic abuse cases rise among our people. Like this. This was horrible, but we see it rise among our people instead of go down. And this is a problem. We have to address this. We can no longer hide behind the shadows of our religiosity or our public images. We must understand that the Most High wants to heal us from the inside out. He is not in agreement with domestic violence. No, he's not. So when you have these Israelite camp brothers that are on the street and they are promoting this idea that women are inferior and supposed to be under their feet, that is a part of the spiritual abuse. And a lot of times I've even heard of Israelite sisters who have talked about how their husbands talk to them like dogs and they treat them like a dog. And that kind of stuff is unacceptable. Y'all, if you're going to be married, understand that there will be conflict. But there is a functional way to manage that conflict, and there's a dysfunctional way. And if you are dysfunctional, understand that the first place to become functional is to admit your dysfunction. My husband and I have had our challenges many times in the past with how to communicate with one another because we didn't grow up in functional homes. Just like most of you didn't grow up in functional homes. A lot of you grew up in single parent homes. My husband and I grew up in single parent homes. And so we carried a lot of that garbage into our marriage. And it took the Ruach HaKodesh to help us to learn how to love and respect one another. So when I tell you all that we've got to stop hiding behind this shame and stop acting like we're so perfect or we don't have any conflict in our homes, there's not healing when you're pretending to be healthy already. He said, Yahusha, that he came for the sick, for those who know they're sick, not for those who think that they're healthy already. So I want to encourage you all that if you are dealing with a situation where in your marriage there is a lot of conflict, a lot of psychological and verbal abuse, or any for that matter, I want to encourage you all to come to a place where you cry out to the Most High so that He can give you resources. I'm not going to recommend any hotlines or I'm not going to recommend this or that program. No, I am going to recommend that your first place be in prayer. Be in prayer, be honest, go before the Ruach and ask Him for a specific plan for you and your family, because He has the power to change to the uttermost. So I'm going to ask you to pray. And the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to receive what He tells you. Walk in obedience. That's the key. It's not just saying I prayed about the situation, but pray in earnest and walk in obedience. Y'all, we have to get to a point where we're able to dialogue about these deep things, because He's coming back for a people without spot or blemish, an ecclesia, and we are a part. As born again Israelites, we are part of the ecclesia without spot or blemish. We can't have this stain of shame of domestic abuse over us and think that the Most High will receive us. That's for men and women, because women abuse men too. For real. Verbal, emotional, spiritual, and even physical abuse toward men as well. So y'all, let's just keep it 100 with this and let's deal with these things, because I'm telling you that he who the Son sets free is free indeed. The old man and the old nature is able to be delivered from all of these things through the blood of Yahusha, being born again, receiving of the Ruach HaKodesh. He gives you the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, meekness, gentleness, and here it goes, self-control. So in any case, guys, I just wanted to share this story with you all. I know it's a horrible, horrible story, but it needed to be brought out. And I hope and pray that those of you who are personally impacted by this, that you will do those two things that I'm really recommending: pray and walk in obedience. So family, also, I'd like to ask you all to share this for those who may not receive this message initially. Maybe they're not subscribed to my channel yet. Share this so that we can help one another through these tough situations. As always, family, love yourself without hating your enemies. And until next time, Yah bless and Salaman.